can't hear you, Mr. Najee. We can't hear you.
Unmute. There I am. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I agree with both those gentlemen. I think they hit it right on the head. I think that sometimes people in the heat of their pain and their arguments that they neglect to remember why in the first place they're having an argument. You know, they use arguments and they use what they have to hurt the other person, you know, without keeping in mind the goal is to raise the child or the children, you know. And you're right. I've heard cases where women have used the system to hurt, you know, fathers and permanently damage, in some cases, the relationship between the child and the father, you know. And I think, you know, as fathers, we have to probably find a way to make that commitment, regardless of the circumstances, to remember, to remind ourselves that the end goal is really, as Mr. Dennis said, is the purpose of the child, you know, and not using the child as a pawn to hurt the partner, because at the end of the day, we all have a responsibility as men, women, and as a community in general to raise solid citizens, solid Americans that can contribute to the system and not be detractors from the system.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of my roles here is to play advocate for both sides. Mm-hmm. Now, and I'm the type of person, I keep it real when I'm having these type of forums. I just speak with passion. So I want to ask you, like, okay, all of that sounds good, but speak to my sister that's hurting because you're the brother that hurt her. So how would you help her to get past the hurt that you inflicted? How do you do that?
Personally, as a man, we can't not do that. She's going to have to seek help other places and family, friends, because it's a shield build up because we hurt that woman. Yeah, in time, we can help her out and show her results. But in the process of being hurt and pain, they don't want to talk to us.
And you know what? I kind of have to, I'm not going to say disagree, because you're the exact person we want to talk to. Well, actually, you're the exact person that we want in our face, because you're the hurt. When hurt come about, it's your face that we see. So I'm not trying to, I'm just going to shout out a name because I see girlfriend on here. I'm not going to call Latia or Kimberly, like, look, sis, he hurting me. I want to talk to you because you did this. And now you're trying to tell me, look, get past this for the child. Yes, that's the right thing to do, but speak to her pain. And I personally, speaking from experience, I need to hear, I know that I hurt you. I know that I wronged you. It's certain words I believe that as women, we need to hear come from you. And then after those words, we need the action. It's just that simple. Because you telling me to go talk to my sister gonna tell me, let's ride up on him. We're not trying to do that if you trying to see the child. Because my sister's gonna tell me, girl, take him for everything he got. That's what my sister gonna tell me. Now I'm trying to ask you, now how can we get this together? Because I'm hurt. That's what I want you to speak on. And you hurt me. Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
You can hear me?
That's challenging.
Well, I think the first thing we must do is, if a man can put aside his, you know, we're all both male and female, I believe, fragile by nature. And a lot of us as men won't admit it, but we, you know, men, we have very fragile egos, you know, going back to our mothers and how we're raised and how our mothers talk to us. And, you know, we have very fragile egos. So that fragile ego goes with us throughout time as fathers and husbands and boyfriends. And honestly, I think if we're brave enough and we can come with a clear conscience, with a goal in mind to bring things together, I think the first step is just to say, I apologize. I'm sorry. I apologize. And that's a hard thing to do for most of us, you know, because the one thing men have that we hold on to more than anything is our pride. You know, sometimes brothers, that's all we got, you know. Sometimes brothers ain't got no money. They don't have the status. They don't have the winning job, you know. They're not the guy in the limelight, you know. They're They're just good men just trying to figure it out. So I think sometimes we just got to be willing to say, you know what, you're right. I'm sorry. And as a father, and I won't talk too much longer, but as a father, I recall as my children got older, and thank God I have a great relationship with my children, but as they got older, you know, when certain things would come up in their conversations with them, I would just, you know, I had to say, you know what, son, or my daughter, I'd say, you know what, I'm sorry, but I got to tell you this, my life would have been a different person had you not been a part of it. Because of you, I made certain decisions that were better for me personally. You coming in my life made my life better, you know, and I had to go from that angle, just sometimes taking the approach of humility and admitting my wrong and owning my mistakes, if you will. And we all make them, you know.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I see that Mr. Kenneth Williams joined. Mr. Kenneth, can you unmute yourself? And
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Say a little bit about yourself.
I'm just happy to kind of chime in and listen to what you all are saying. I guess I'll jump right into what the last brother was saying. I'm not a you know, expert on relationships, and probably am the last person to be espousing beliefs and practices. But I do kind of feel like every woman and every man who's ever been in a relationship knew what the relationship was. They knew what they were giving, they knew what they were taking, and vice versa. And once you knew you weren't giving your all, or the person wasn't receiving your all, you kind of knew that it was doomed. And it's just like a man just said, it's a pride thing. I don't want to get dumped, but I don't want to be the jerk either. And so you tread water until somebody gets brave or finds somebody new, because that's what it's all about. If you ain't with the person you're with, you're just with somebody till you find the person you want to be with. But you don't want to be alone in the meantime. That's just my spiel.
Now, to connect with the question, based on what you just said, until somebody finds someone else. Now there's a child in place. What happens, your opinion, what happens with that child when once the mother go down and she's, you know, child support at you, and she's not letting you see the child because she's speaking from that point of pain that you inflicted to her? What would you say, or what would you do to kind of rectify that? Acknowledging her pain.
Well, I thought it was me. Go ahead.
Well, there's two things that play here. We're talking about the man-woman component, then the parent component. So as man-woman, yes, I did wrong. I apologize. We can fix it or we don't fix it, but you can't use the child as a weapon because of the man-woman component of what's going on.
But many women do it.
Then that's wrong. Mm-hmm. And speaking from experience, the system isn't for us. Speaking to men, when it comes to going into a friend of the court or whatever it's called, wherever city you're from, it's not for us. So to speak to that woman, hey, I'm sorry I hurt you, or you hurt me, or we didn't work out, but we got a greater cause, and that's this kid, to make sure that we don't mess this kid up. And so if you're going to use child support as a weapon, that means we're at war.
See, that's the one that gets me. That's the one that bothers me the most, because I don't think there's a man alive, I'm emphasizing man alive, that will allow the woman in his life to dictate his relationship with his child. That's an excuse. That's weak. That's if you make it monetary, if you make it, well, she's doing this, she's doing that, she's giving you the out you want. Because if you didn't want to out, you'd say one has nothing to do with the other. And being a father has nothing to do with being a parent. They're two different things. It's easy being a parent. It's a job to be a father.
Absolutely. I totally agree with what all of you just said. But I see my brother LaCrepe is on here, and we just recently, I'm not gonna say met our father, but our biological father recently came into our life. I want to say about 10 years ago. And I've always had a longing to know my dad. I spent my entire life saying, I know he's out there, he's searching for me, he's gonna come and find me, and my world is gonna be better because he's gonna be in it. Well, when we found him and, you know, I was trying to get my brother to be engaged, he was like, no, he said, I don't believe, based just what you just said, he said, I don't believe that a real man will allow any woman to keep him from his child. And it was that, his feelings on that is what kept him away. And my biological father passed away last year. And I don't think that my brother actually got to connect with him because based on how he felt, he's like, no, he let a woman keep him from me. So I guess I get it. But on the other hand, it's like, okay, we're grown now. Let's move forward and talk to dad, you know.
Well, part of that, you can't do the total indictment. That's the problem. See, because sometimes the woman knows that having that man in that child's life is to his detriment. Once you figure out that child should not be in his life, that's your responsibility as a mother to say, you know what, you can hate me now, but you'll appreciate me later because this guy, and emphasizing once again, being daddy don't make you father.
That's
and
right.
if he's just your biological, I love what Shaquille O'Neal always says, my favorite saying, talks about his stepfather in deference, who's dead now. He said, Phil is my father. Phil is my father because biological didn't bother. I always love to
Wow. Okay. I see my brother LaCrepe unmuted himself. Did you want to add to that before we go to the next question, LaCrepe?
No, I'm good. I'm just listening right now.
Okay.
Just listening right now. I ain't got nothing.
Okay, so I'm gonna mute you on this end. Okay.
I just have to add to what Mr. Williams said just now, and he's absolutely right. I think that sometimes one of the deeper issues that we don't, as men don't really get to address is the psychological burdens we have to bear that a lot of us have to bear. And I'm saying us. I've been very fortunate in my life, but I notice with a lot of men, unfortunately, they come from bad circumstances. There's no dad around to tell them, this is how you are to be a man. This is how you should, this is how to be a father. A lot of us come from fatherless homes, including myself. You know, I literally just saw a picture of myself at the age of 60. I mean, of my father at the age of 60. So for almost 60 years, I never knew what my dad looked like. So, you know, we have real cases in this country where men, you know, to be a man, we don't know how to do that. There's no one to tell us this is how you do it. Unless you're fortunate to come into circumstances that, you know, a strong mother that's not inhibiting you from that, or, you know, familial situation, or, you know, teachers or people like that can guide you along, or even maybe the mother remarries. In the case of Shaquille O'Neal, she just happened to get her a good man who took Shaquille as his son. But there are probably thousands, hundreds of thousands of men in this country, unfortunately, that just come from bad circumstances, even though their inner desire is to try to be that man to their children. So I think that there's a deeper issue than just, in my opinion, than, you know, a man wanting to be a father or be a parent. I think they kind of, to say they're two separate things, I really don't agree with that. I think they kind of go together. You know, they integrate together, and it's a responsibility that regardless of what you choose to call it, every parent is responsible to, you know, every father, so.
Thank you. And for our people that's looking on, our visitors, when you want to say something or have a question, just unmute yourself. Don't say anything, and I'll notice that you unmuted. That's why I'm looking to the side, and then I'll invite you to say what you need to say. That keeps all of the friction going behind us, so we don't hear all of the excess, okay? So I'm gonna go on to the next question. Now, with our own self-imposed, unrealistic expectations, we tend to tear down our men. We just do as women. The male ego is very delicate and fragile. We as women tend to fracture that, and we do that. The Bible says, a wise woman buildeth her man, and a foolish woman tears it down. And we tend to tear our men down with not only our words that we say, but with the words that we don't say. We even tear them down with our, I call it Hollywood notions, our notions to make them what we want them to be, opposed to, like I said in my book, ushering them into their greatest possibility. Based on that, if you were to take the lead in your relationship, how could you help us women come to an understanding to know that you're not perfect? However, you do identify and understand their pain and that you plan to reinforce your ideals?
Well, sister, you come with some rough ones, man, I'll tell you. I think I'm gonna let the other brothers go on that one.
So,
go ahead.
You said if the woman lets us take charge.
No, with you taking the lead. I didn't say charge. You taking the lead, and you're saying, you know what?
So I already didn't have it?
Yes.
Why didn't I have it?
Because some women take it from you. I'm just saying. I'm huge on wordplay. I didn't say leader. I didn't say the head. I said you're gonna take the lead, meaning you're gonna go first. You're gonna put your foot first. You going forward, and you're saying, let me read it the way I wrote it down. With our own self-imposed, unrealistic expectations, we tend to tear our men down. The male ego is delicate and fragile at times. As women, we tend to fracture and in many cases destroy it with the things we say and do. By you taking now this is the question. Taking the lead, meaning the man saying, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go first, whether right or wrong. Taking the lead in a relationship, how can men help us women come to an understanding that you're not perfect, but you plan to be a better you?
Well,
that's a trick question. Totally trick question.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. You know why it's a trick question?
Right now.
It's a trick question because we want it both ways. You want a strong man, but you want to be a strong woman, and that's gonna clash. You got to establish priorities. What's your priority? Do you want a strong relationship, or do you want a strong individuality? If you want to be a strong individual and y'all put it together at the end, that's a good thing. But if you're talking about my check is bigger than yours, or you ain't bringing enough money in, that's a lose-lose conversation.
Mm-hmm. And I'll treat you like a queen, but you have to realize who the king is. And I'm going to drive this bus, and I don't care if I hit a pothole, if I went left instead of going right, I'm driving this bus, and it's my job to get us on track. And I can't pick and choose that on Tuesdays and Thursdays you want to be independent, like Brother Kenneth said, but Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'm supposed to take the lead, and then on Mondays is partner day. I can't do that. I have a responsibility to my family, my community, my children, to make sure that we have goals set forward, and I can't sit back and think about when it's time for you to want to take the lead or impose your will. I can't do that.
Well, I would like to add to that. I think, and I don't speak from the position of being a social scientist or an educator or a religious leader, none of that. I just think that based on observations, our problems go deeper than just the current. Obviously, when you go back to just the history of slavery and how the slave owners, they dehumanized the men, particularly, and that, I heard a wise man once say that we as African-Americans still suffer from the ghost of slavery. We still suffer from that in many ways. The way we hear our mothers talk to our fathers, the way we hear as a boy, the mother is frustrated and they're dealing with a lot of pressure, and they'll say, and call you the N-word and say, hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And start yelling. And so that process actually carries on, when you come from a family where, let's say it's a matriarch, we watch our women, pretty much not intentionally with the intention of hurting. I think every woman has in them the intention to make us better. That's their job, because both male and female come from the woman. So she's the first educator, she's the first nurturer, she's the first one to open the doors to provisions, and And that's a very, very, very hard job, obviously. So, you know, I think it really takes a re-education, a commitment, probably on a community level. Maybe we need more of this where brothers come together and we just talk these things out, how we're gonna help each other to rise up and recognize the power. You know, no one ever said to me, and I'm sure to all of you, no one ever said to me, you know how much power you have as an individual? Do you realize your power to choose? How powerful that is, the ability to choose right or wrong, left or right, you know. I mean, nobody has those conversations. Very few of us have those conversations with our kids. Listen, the power of choice carries consequence, whether good or bad. Those things make a big difference, you know. And but I really think that the community of people need to come together and share these ideas with each other and help bolster up positive solutions that maybe we can all carry away and try to build our families, you know, and relationships with our children. But anyway, that's all I have to say. I'm sorry. I don't take up all the time.
I would like to chime in on that because what's important to me is I was raised in a two-parent household. And my mom totally emasculated my dad every day in my mom. I mean,
yeah.
He went to work every day. She was a housewife. She paid all the bills with his money. She told him what time to come and what time to leave. And as a child, a teen, you probably think, well, that was kind of weak. You know what I'm saying? But then you get older and you grow up and you figure out, you know what? He took the lead in being the provider and let her take the lead in being the matriarch of the family, to take care of the family. And I think that's the kind of partnership you want to have. Although it may not be ideal for everyone, but I can guarantee you that at some point in time, whether they knew it consciously or subconsciously, there was a conversation that took place about how we're going to raise this family.
Absolutely. I have to agree with you, Kenneth,
yes,
because
sir.
I know I have an auntie and uncle that has functioned like that for years. And she, you know, she's working and he has worked, he's very educated, has a degree and everything. But when you look at them, it's like he took the position of being at home, taking care of the kids. And when I look at their relationship, and she's gonna know I'm talking about her. When I look at their relationship, it's like, wow, a conversation had to come about for him to make the decision to let her career go above his career and he take the position of staying home. That just spoke volumes to me. Like, listen, this is not, every relationship, every household should be ran and functioned to the way that it needs to be between that man and that woman. I don't think we need to look upon other people's relationship, and that's what we do. I was raised in a household where my mom is very opinionated, and those who know her would just send up some hearts, and she know we loving on her. But she's very opinionated, and she, you know, my dad is very humble in a sense, very humble in a sense. And I'm gonna assume that worked for them. But you do have those instances where you can see how the woman has completely just ripped that man into, he's like a little child. You can actually see it. So I commend the women that, and the men that has the relationship that's willing to take on, you know, opposite roles, so to speak. So that, to me, speaks volumes. Anyone else want to add to that?
I do.
Well, I concur with Brother Williams. A woman does what you let her do. And through communication, and you knock out all the social roles, if that's how he chose to run the household, then that's fine. And we shouldn't let other people judge what happens in your household.
Right.
Because I think it was Brother Grayson's first point, it all starts with communication. So who are we to dictate what happens in someone's home?
Absolutely. Micah, you had a comment?
Yeah, I believe I like to agree with Mr. Dennis. I believe not only is it communication, it's continued communication that is key. Followed and reinforced through action that shows a woman, any woman, that I am worthy I am worthy, not that I demand or command your respect, but I am worthy to be respected through my actions. And with that being said, that's the gist of it. You have to walk your talk and talk your walk in order for any woman to believe or respect your position.
That's good. That's good from all of you. Yes, absolutely. Go ahead.
It's also about growth. We got to understand we have to make adjustments along the relationship in the beginning all the way to the end. We have to grow within each other. There's going to be some uncomfortable feelings because we come from all different backgrounds. But when we communicate continuously and we have the mindset to put the ego to the side, us as men, and grow and learn, things will work out. Just know they're going to be challenging. Know there's going to be tough. It's going to be hurt. It's going to be pain. But when you communicate and you're willing to learn and willing to grow, it will work out.
I agree. Okay, so let's go on to our next question. And I'm just going to read it from the paper. In today's society, most children are being raised in single-parent households with a male present. Knowing some women make it difficult, unbearing, and even impossible to be part of the child's life, how do you men who are present in your child's life hope to motivate those who are not?
I like to answer that simply through deed and action. Just setting an example, setting a standard, just by being in your child's life, by being active in your child's life, by being productive in your child. Help that woman raise that child, as even if it's just co-parenting and not as a unit, but having the audacity to say, hey, this is what needs to be done, and then setting out and forth to do so. And when you do that, it may take a while. It'll plant a seed, and because there's a lot of men out there who aren't in their children's life, but have the desire to do so. And to see another man who is in their child's life may give them the motivation to go that extra mile to do so.
That's good. And I just realized that I asked that question. It was a two-part question. The other part of that question is moving in the direction of the child. The child sees the mom and the dad. It's always tension. It's always arguing. He hears his mom, talking about the dad. Based on how it is, the animosity, the anger, the bitterness, how do you go to your child and build a relationship with that child?
Well, for me, because I've found myself in that exact situation where me and my child's mother didn't see eye to eye on anything. So what I did, I went to my daughter and I sat down, and my daughter's quite intelligent. Those who know her know. I went to my child and I sat her down and I talked to her and I explained to her, like, hey, just because me and your mom aren't seeing eye to eye on certain issues, that doesn't mean that I don't love you. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to be in your life. That doesn't mean that we don't have a relationship. Me and your mother relationship, I'm sorry if some people may not agree with me, but it has nothing to do with me and the relationship I have with my daughter. And I just consistently and constantly reinforce that me and my daughter's relationship is my number one priority, not being her mom's friend, not getting with her mom and building a relationship, or even an intimate relationship with her mother. That's not my concern. My only concern is the well-being of my daughter, and I make sure that she knows that wholeheartedly. That's it.
Good. That's good. Would anyone else like to?
Yes, simple. In the more words of Malcolm X, by any means necessary. Here's the thing. from my personal experience. I'm married, marriage is not working out. I'm a father. Marriage was, when I signed that license to get married, it was on the hope of a lifetime together.
Right.
When I had a child, there was no such license. To be a parent was a lifetime. Now, when the marriage didn't work out, the parenthood still had to. When things weren't going my way, when I couldn't negotiate, when I couldn't talk, I went to court. And I put my money where my mouth was. I wanted to be a good parent, and I took the other parent out the equation because one had nothing to do with the other. I was going to be a parent, and I knew what the interference was going to be. I wouldn't do one thing differently about being a parent and choose to be a parent. And if things worked out, that's fine. If they didn't, that child was not going to suffer because of a shortcoming of mine. That was my edict. I wouldn't be the weak link in the chain.
That's good. Anyone else?
Yeah, me. What he just said, the last speaker, I did that. I've been in my 3 kids' life since birth. I took care of them, everything. Well, I went to court, and she told the judge that I've done nothing. Nothing. She sat there and lied. My family know my kids is everything to me. And the judge took her word over mine.
Gotta keep the
receipt. So now, I pay everything. Plus I pay for a child that's not even mine. And she told the judge that. So I'm just like, okay, cool. I'm just stuck. So I pay child support and I take care of the children with money out my pocket. So, I mean, everybody's giving their opinion on certain things, but in certain situations, the man don't have a choice. He's just stuck in the system. You could be the best dad in the world. You could be the best husband, the best boyfriend, but the woman gonna always have the best upper hand. No matter what you do, she's gonna have the upper hand unless you some guy who can just basically just show that you got all this money and she's the unfit mother. If you're not that person, you just stuck. You in the system, you stuck. So you really don't have no choice. And when it comes to my children, I pull them to the side and I tell them the truth. I don't lie to them. I don't care how old they is. If it was my fault, I'm going to tell them. If it's their mother's fault, I'm going to tell them this is what she did. And a lot of people disagree. They say I shouldn't put the kid in the middle. But no, I'm tired of taking the back seat, being the bad guy. My kids looking at me like, you's a deadbeat dad. But no, it's not that. It's just your mother is a certain way. And a lot of men want to be with their children, but the woman make it so hard to be in their life because she's doing so much different stuff to poison their mind.
But then you wait till the kid gets a certain age. It depends on how old the kid is. If the kid's like 12 and up, then you can form that relationship with the kid, and the kid is smart and they see what's going on and what happens. Now, from that time before, it may be difficult and you may just have to sit it out until you're able to look at that kid, because at the end of the day, you don't want your kid to hate you when they get older, say dad wasn't there, dad abandoned them, because they're going to see if the mother's a bad guy or not, what she is doing and how she's treated them. But for the sake of it's one thing to get hit with child support, but it's another thing, you just want to create positive memories with your kids. And sometimes you got to just take it. Because I pay child support, but I still had to take the kids out and do the stuff because I didn't want them to think that I was the bad guy when they get older.
I see Mr. Gray raised his hand. I'm going to unmute you.
I'm sorry, bro.
Go ahead, Mr. Gray.
I want to say, how y'all doing? Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Najee, man, good to see you, man. First of all, I want to tell you, man, your music, man, is really what raised me, man, really. I want to tell you, true, man, true, man, true.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it.
Me being a hairstylist, that jazz music is what kept me calm, I did I've done many presentations off your music and etc. I mean history, a lot of history with your music. But let's talk about these kids thing. I see you guys, everybody talking about this kids thing. Of course, Najee, you know I reached out to you. I hit 50. I turned 50 last month, July the 20th.
Oh, happy birthday, bro.
And my son 19. I was with how should I put it? When I was married, got married at 27. I'm just getting divorced. My son, he's 19, but I can say as a dad, being married, but it's a job, you know what I'm saying? You gotta be there, you know. It's gonna be some sacrifices. Now that I look back, when you're in that moment, you're gonna make some sacrifices, you know what I'm saying? It's some things that you ain't gonna be able to do. You know, you're gonna go through some arguments, you're gonna, you know, it's gonna be a lot. But I hear everybody talking about, you know, that relationship with their kids. You know, these kids get older and, you know, they move on. You know, they make their decisions though. Like right now, my son, you know, he out here rolling. He don't call me. You know, I text, all of that. So you know, I asked myself, what did I do? You know, to one day I had to come to the conclusion. You know, he's in college now. I was like, come to the conclusion, like, you know what, man, you'll call me, man. You'll check on me, man. You know, hey, man, I'm 50 years old, man. I'm young. I'm living my life, you know. So, you know, I just tell anybody out there, hey, you gotta love yourself first. You love yourself first. Learn to love yourself first, you know, and all these other.
Not to cut you off, Mr. Gray, but to speak on what you're saying, that's actually another part to the question that I asked. So thank you, Mr. Gray, because that hadn't even came to my mind. What about those fathers that do all that they can do, and the child still kind of have the mother's mentality of that relationship? Then what should the father do at that point?
Can I respond to something there? I'm actually going to go back to what LaCrepe was saying. You know, the issue of the system itself conspiring to hurt the father, where the woman is using the system to hurt the father, is what I think he was trying to express, is that when you have a father who does all he can do in his circumstances to not only have a relationship with the child, but keep up his financial, you know, obligations. But then you have a system where, you know, they only want to listen to one side, because it seems as though in his experience that, you know, the judges, if you will, are partial. They're impartial to the woman's and sentimental to the woman's concern. Now, part of that we understand in the case of, I remember reading probably, I don't know, maybe last or 2 weeks ago, where it says that 70% of households, African-American households, are headed by women. You know, the financial support falls on the woman. So in one sense, we understand why the court takes the position it does, but sometimes the hand of the law doesn't have the sympathetic attitude in the case of like a LaCrepe or other people who are out there, and is actually used as a tool for not only punishment, but to basically make it impossible to meet an obligation that, you know, you're obligated to meet. And it damages the relationship with the children. You know, we have to come from behind the 8 ball as fathers to repair or progress with the relationship with children, you know. So I think his concern that he brought up, and I think we heard what he had to say, but we went into something else. But he brought up a legitimate point about what about the system, people using a system that's really designed not to be sympathetic to the father's contributions, if you will, both as a parent and as a provider, you know.
That's good. Mr. Kenneth, he has a background law enforcement. You want to speak on that, Mr. Ken?
Yeah, the thing that and I don't want to be, you know, be stereotypical and say across the board, but one of the things I do understand is, especially when it comes to women raising men, I'm talking about the male child especially, there's two dynamics that I always worry about. The first dynamic is that woman who's mad at the father raising this man. That's the first dynamic. The second dynamic is the woman who's raising this male child that's raising this man, and it's despite the world, this child can't be wrong. I can't tell you how many mothers I've spoken to where I'll show them pictures, photographs, confessions, videos, this, that, and the other of what their son has admitted to doing. And they're almost like Trump supporters. You know, he didn't say that. He wouldn't have done that. That's fake news. Well, that works in the peripheral. But in the long run, what you've done is empowered somebody who's going to have a long road to toe. Because you can't tell somebody who's wrong they're right and expect some good come out of it. And that's the dynamic I worry about the most right now in the Black male race right now, is we have too many women raising men. And a woman can hug you. She can tell you what cologne to wear, how to wear your pants and your shirt, this, that, and the other, but she cannot raise a man.
That's right.
Try as she might. She cannot raise a man.
I have to agree. And I believe that's mainly because we don't know what it is to be a man. So, you know, yes, we are forced to do it because I was one. But I totally agree with you, Mr. Kenneth. Anybody want to add to that before we go to the next question?
I do. I like to go back to what my brother LaCrepe was saying. And someone said something, I can't recall who it was, but they said we have to just take it. And I agree with that. Sometimes we have to just bite the bullet as being a man and a father. Sometimes we have to deal with or endure more than what we deserve to do and be what's best for the child. Sometimes we have to just suck it up and take it. I'll use myself as an example. I went from a full-time father to a partial custody father when me and my child's mother separated. She took me to court. I was taking care of my child and doing everything, and therefore we had an agreement, a verbal agreement. 15 days out the month, I have her, and vice versa for her. But because of the friction between us, she ran to the system, used it to her advantage, and now I see my daughter every other weekend. You know, I see her 4 days out the month now, but I continue to take care of my daughter 30, if it's 30 days in a month, I take care of my daughter 30 days out the month, 31, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
But that's just being a man. That's what we have to do. It's nothing fair about it, but it's not about what's fair to us. It's what's fair for that child, regardless of the circumstances that we have to deal with or the situations that the mother may impose upon us. Because when women do things like that, they do that to deter you. They do that so that the child can see, hey, yeah, my mom was right about this man. And we have to do what is necessary to say, hey, you know what? Maybe our child's mother isn't the best person in the world, but that's still our child's mother. So we can't disgrace that woman in any sense of the word, because that's still our child's mother. But what we have to do is do our part to show that child that who we truly are as a person, a man, a father, and do what is necessary to allow them to be able to understand that. And that's the best we can hope for.
Thank you, Micah.
Hey, I have this statement. I have this question, right? I have this question, right? I hear a bunch of you guys saying, you know, I want to see my child. She won't let me see my child. I'm asking myself this. Doesn't this free time give her time to go free and do some other things while she's, you know, if you got your child that frees time for her to go do some things. So why is she acting like that? And you taking care of your business, and she said, well, come get your son, come get your daughter, come get your kids. And now she can go do some things. So why are these women, why am I hearing this? Because I didn't have those type of issues. I didn't.
Well,
I really didn't. You know, the only issue I'm having
I would like
is,
to address that.
Well, I really want to move on to the next question, but I want to speak on regards to.
Go ahead, you can move on. You can move on.
What Mr. Moses just said. I want to say something. Each relationship is different. I guess, as they say, count yourself blessed to not have to deal with that. But there are a lot of us out there that have to deal with that, and even things worse than that. So that wasn't your issue. Your issue could have been something else, or her issue with you could be something simple.
Hey, actually, the one thing just to cut in, don't understand, there's a difference between a child being conceived and a child being conceived with love.
Oh, yeah.
Understand that. And if you don't know the woman that you have a child with, all bets are off.
Oh, yeah. I have to agree. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Some of the discord in a relationship stems from the woman's frustration that is often misdirected at the man and sometimes the children, which ultimately leads to continued confusion as well as hostility within the house. The question is, how can men, being the head of the household, take steps to restore the family while maintaining a loving balance in a relationship? Now, to sum all of what I just said, in our frustration, we take it out on y'all. We say things, we do things, and we even turn around and holler at the kids. You seem knowing
allow me to interject for sure.
Micah broke up. So somebody want to answer that question? Hello? Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Hey, I just say,
okay.
Hey man,
I think it's a loaded question,
man. Save your money. Save your money.
Well, I think it's a very loaded question. I mean, I think Mr. Williams probably can address it better.
My feeling is if the relationship is volatile, it's not going to get better. If your reason for staying in a relationship is your child, you're not doing the child any good. So my tendency is, and like I said, when things go bad, one has nothing to do with the other. And you can be a good father without being a good husband. I believe that in my heart.
Yeah.
I agree.
I believe you can be a good man without being a good husband. We make mistakes. That's why we didn't create divorces. We inherited them. We didn't invent them. There was a precedent because things don't work out. But there is no precedent that says that at the time you in your relationship you end being a father. And I think that's the key right there. To going back to what my man's saying about the woman needing to get out and do things, this, that, and the other. Well, guess what? There's not a man on this panel that doesn't know whether or not his baby mama, his ex-wife, his whatever you want to call her, is a good woman or a bad woman.
Oh, yes.
And if he can make a open-minded, statement to say that woman's a bad woman, it's not because he's mad, it's because she's a bad mother. But at the same time, if he says she's a good woman and she's a good mother and things just didn't work out, that's the man I applaud.
Absolutely. Anyone want to add to that?
Well, I agree with him totally. I mean, really it's just a focus on the child. Really, it's really about the child. And I agree with him totally that, particularly when he was making the mention of male children, woman can't raise a boy to be a man. I mean, there's certain internal dynamics that go on, well, both for male and female with a father, but when it comes to male, there's certain internal dynamics that women can't provide. And it really takes a man, first of all, recognizing his mistakes, and being able to say, okay, listen, maybe in my heart, I'm angry. She may not be the best person or the best woman now. All of a sudden, that's the conclusion I come to. But the reality is, you know, when you got with her, there was something that brought you to her.
Amen. Amen.
You got with it, and it was like that moment, that quick minute of passion, man, whatever it was. You know, some brothers be talking about an hour. I don't know. I have yet to live that. But whatever it is, it produced life in this world, and you guys are bonded in this life and the next because of that. So, you know, to sit here and go out on the rampage, she's the worst mother, she's the worst person I ever met, and I hate her. And, you know, I to me, you weren't saying that when you was getting involved. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So obviously there's got to be something there that's good that we can tap into as men, you know, for the sake of raising the child, you know, and making sure that the child's destiny is met, you know, and its needs are met, and, you know, and cooperating with each other. And I think this conversation is great between men, but I think women need to have these kind of conversations, not so much from a venting point of view, but from a constructive, where do we build? Where do we go from here? Because we all know the problems. I mean, each one of us can sit here and you know, articulate the problems. We all can do that, you know, but how do we build? You know, these things are really good to help purge, if you will. And then from there, the problem with arguments, and I'm unfortunately, I'm going to have to sign off, but the problem with arguments is people get into arguments and they forget while they're arguing. There's no construction after the argument. There's no point. They just get caught up in the argument, and then they forget, well, what is the end goal? The end goal is to build a better situation for the benefit of the children. So
I agree. Is that Kimberly or Latia? Kimberly?
Yeah, I have to go, but I mean, I'm an auntie. I don't have any kids, but I'm an auntie, and I step in and do what I can for my babies. They, my niece and nephew, but they my kids too. And I just like hearing these men on here. You guys sound like, you know, at least you care about parenting. You know, that's about, I mean, if you can't have the relationship, well, dang it, go ahead on and help take care of the baby, you know? It's all for them anyway. But I gotta go.
Thank you.
I enjoyed all of you guys.
Thank you for
Miss Jhons, I'm unfortunately have to get ready to go too, but I want to personally thank you and thank the gentleman. It's been an honor to sit on these kind of things with you guys, and brothers, just keep on going, man, because y'all are some positive cats, man. It's really nice to hear, you know.
Yeah.
But I hope to meet each and every one of you at some point whenever I'm in the Michigan area, you know. As a matter of fact, if we get back to concerts, y'all are all my guests for free. All right? How's that?
I heard that. We're going to hold you to it, Mr. Najee. Thank you so much.
Don't worry. You got it. No problem.
Thank you.
All right. Be well. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So let's go on to our next one. We only got 1 or 2 more questions. So the next question is, due to the effects of slavery and the Jim Crow Act, not only are women at odds with each other, but men are as well. How can you as men, being of positivity, help to reconcile the dire situation in our community? So what can you do to stop this, to help men or stop this madness?
I can speak from a law enforcement perspective, and I'm watching, you know, all unrest going all over the country and everything. And the one thing I live in the suburbs now, and my neighbors don't understand, you know, when they hear about 20 shootings and killings in Chicago or Detroit, they go right to the, you know, in their mind, we're savages, we're animals, you know, philosophy. That's not the reality. The reality is that everything that, you know, the urban situation, the reality is it's called hopelessness.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about hopelessness, it starts out positive. The first syllable is hope. And the middle syllable is less. Mm-hmm. And the final syllable is ness, which is the root of negative. So you start with something positive, it gradually decreased until finally there was nothing left. And the reality is that this 16, 17-year-old kid doesn't have a life expectancy. He doesn't expect greatness because he doesn't see greatness. He's not surrounded by it. So he takes on the philosophy, you know what? I'm gonna get all I can get today. And I don't care who I gotta go through to get it. And until we change that reality, it's not going to change. We've been having the same conversation since I played police department way back in 1987. And I promise you, the only thing that has changed is the last name, and some of them are juniors and the thirds, because it's not just a rate of recidivism, it's inheritance. You know, if my daddy had no hope, why should I have hope? And until we change hope and belief, it's not going to change. And I hate to get political, but understand that the white power structure in America knows that as long as I can incarcerate you, as long as I can keep you oppressed, till you don't care, I'm going to stay in power. You know, it's no coincidence. Think about this. We've lost 50 million jobs in America in the last 5 months.
Wow.
But the stock exchange is up 5,000 points since it started. And half the country isn't in the stock exchange, doesn't invest. So how is everybody's losing jobs and losing money and everything, but the rich are getting richer? It's a new kind of gentrification. It's a new kind of genocide. And I think we need to recognize it's not going to change until we change the power structure. And you don't change the power structure by sitting home waxing poetic. You got to get out there and protest. You know, this country was built upon protests. As much as they want to kick our ass about being out in the streets, this protest started with white folks out there killing white folks in the street. In the Boston Tea Party, the Revolutionary War. It was the landlord against the landless. That's what revolution has always been based upon. Are you willing to die for your land? And these protesters are saying, yes, I am. And I applaud. As a law enforcement executive, I applaud them.
I like that address the question, how do we as being men of positivity hope to like correct the effects of slavery and the Jim Crow Act? There's such a thing as in the world of psychology as pre-exposed hereditary dispositions. And what that means is that if my dad's an alcoholic, all odds are that I'll become an alcoholic because I'm pre-exposed to it. So with that being said,
Michael, you break it extremely bad. Extremely bad. Okay. I'm gonna mute him. Would someone else like to
correcting the wrong that we as a race have endured is starting with the youth. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, but you're breaking up extremely bad. Let's open it up to someone else to answer that question. You're breaking up extremely bad. Would someone else like to answer?
Mr. Williams, Kenneth Williams.
Yes, sir.
Excellent point. Us as community leaders, parents, aunties, uncles, it takes a village. We have to expose these children to pure love, to something else that they see. What they see is not their fault, the product of their environment. We have to show them entrepreneurship. We have to show them, let them know that they can be great, God designed all of us to be great. Our job is to instill that into them. What they see from their parents, what they see from schools, that's what they're going to do. We have to give them a chance instead of locking them up. We have to talk to them instead of yelling at them. We have to hug them and love them instead of ignoring them. So we got work to do out here. And I like what you said, Mr. Williams. We got to continue this work in order for the next generation to experience the love, to treat women with respect and love, to know how to have work ethic, and to be kind to others. It's not their fault. It's their environment. We have to expose them to these things.
Yeah, you know what, brother. Please don't think that I'm sounding depressed. I'm actually hopeful, and believe it or not, I felt more hope this week, than I have in 3 years, because Kamala Harris. And I'm telling you why. her ascendancy to the vice presidency could mean more than Barack Obama's becoming president. Because Barack Obama had the weight of 8 years of not being too black.
That's right.
He was black, but he couldn't be too black because he knew that first he had to give credibility to the black man in office. And he gave it credibility. 8 years, a beautiful wife, a beautiful family, no scandals, not out in the strip club every week. He gave credibility to black people. But he couldn't do it the way he wanted to because white Americans were saying, why'd she be too black?
Right.
So now you got a guy like Biden at the top. And I've said this long, and I've said it. The only way to be the old rich white man is with an older, richer white man. And that's what Biden can provide. Because Biden will not be the president. Sister Kamala will. Wow. And she'll push the black agenda. You know why? Because she'll have 12 years to do it.
That's right.
She'll have her term as vice president and her 8 years as president to make this thing even. And I worked for Coleman Young. And I'll never forget something Coleman Young told me. We went through all the things that he had gone through. And I was like, well, sir, don't you feel like it's time to get even sometime? And I'll never forget what he said to me. He said, you don't change racism by being racist in reverse.
Wow.
Powerful.
That's very powerful. Wow. Okay. Let's go on to our last question. There is a distinct difference in today's mentality and times past. How does one get back to the grassroots of yesterday while maintaining the evolution of thinking in present times?
Well, for me, as far as I'm concerned, you do just that. You recall what Big Mama told you. You recall what your granddad, the stories of your granddad, how he was brought up, and you put all those ideals into play in your everyday life. You do that, and you instill those family beliefs, those old family beliefs, into your child in a way that they can understand and relate to it. You have to find a way to connect past and present for the future. And one way I feel you can do so is by not only doing what I just stated, but taking your child to an elder in your family and have them sit down and talk to them. Not letting them hear it from a third party, but from the mouth of yesteryears. And having a dialogue with your child after that, so that you know that they understand and can relate and can somehow relate to the yesteryears, the ideals of yesteryears. And in my opinion, that's the beginning.
That's good. That's good. Anyone like to add to that? That's good. I also believe that I have 3 organizations, and I started all 3 on the basis of back to basics, back to the basics. And I believe that that's our starting point, because I strongly believe that in order to go forward, we need to go backwards. And as bad as COVID-19 has come and taken so many lives, and my heart goes out to those people, respectfully, I want to say, COVID-19 took us back to basics. Because I can honestly say, in the last few months, I've looked out my window or drove down the street and I saw kids actually playing outside. In the beginning of this whole thing, it took us back to basics, where we were sitting at home with each other like we used to do back in the day, eating, communicating, back to basics. So COVID-19 did a whole lot of damage. But I believe if you look for positive in everything, you will find it.
Amen.
So that's my spin on all of this. I want to thank Mr. Kenneth Williams for coming out and giving us some of your time. You're talking about a busy man. This man is literally all over the world daily. So how you handle being at home, Ken?
I get on an airplane no time soon. So luckily I had knee surgery, and I had an excuse to be in the house. So like I said, here's the thing you said, Nene, and this is the real reality for me is, and I think the brothers will appreciate what I'm saying. We got to have a block party without a shooting.
Yes. Yes.
You know, we got to have we got to, the lights got to go out for a week or so.
Oh yeah, come on.
Everybody bring their food down to one house and barbecue and close the street down where cars can't go down. Everybody got to walk around and talk and meet each other.
Yes.
And as simple as that sounds, but the reality is, and I'm asking brothers here, do you go to a block party now or an event in the hood and think, well, damn, where's the quickest way I can get out of here before I get there? We got to change that.
Got to change that. That is a thought process, but we got to change that.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, that's deep.
Yeah.
That's
I
deep.
believe that we have to find a way to put the commune back in community.
Oh, that's good.
You know?
That's a good one too.
If we commune, I don't hate it, but I try not to put religion into any type of conversation, because religion and politics is something that you really shouldn't go back and forth about. But if you think back to Big Mama, Granny, Grandma, and all that, they commune with one another. Not only did they commune, but they reasoned. If they had a disagreement, they sat down and they came to an understanding, even if the understanding was to agree to disagree.
They did.
And I believe
you break it up really bad.
Getting back to the basics. Getting back to the basics. If we get back to the fundamentals, the foundation of family, and which is coming together.
You're breaking up again, Micah.
Wow.
I want to and end it with this. I hold on to a vision in my mind. I hold on to a vision in my mind of my grandmother and all her sisters being in the basement of our church, sitting in the side room, cooking, preparing our Sunday meal, and telling all of us what to do. And when they was finished, I hold on to the memory of them calling the females, the little girls, me and my cousins, to the kitchen to wash the dishes, to wipe down the tables. I hold on to the fact that the uncles would come and tell the boys, take the garbage out, go push those chairs under the table. We need to get back to that, because nowadays you can't even tell a person anything about their child. They're automatic in defensive mode. You can't say nothing to them because they think they automatically feel like they are under attack, which takes me to my original question that I wanted to ask everybody. This was the question that led me to put this together, that prompted me to put this together. Why are people so angry? I understand the injustice that's going on to us. I get it. And please don't take this wrong when I say it this way. I get Black Lives Matter. I get that. And I get that we need to protest. I get that. But these same people that I seen on the news, my same sisters and brothers that I seen out there protesting and hollering Black Lives Matter, I scroll on over to my homegirls page and these same girls out there fighting each other. These same boys over there shooting, game banging with each other. But yet, Black Lives Matter. So do my Black Lives Matter only when it's another race doing it to us? Are we, when you go back to you know, how people say, don't nobody kick my dogs but me. Are we in that mentality? Where we at?
Here's the thing that you gotta understand, and this is the trap that, you know, but from a law enforcement perspective, this is the reality. We don't kill in urban communities based upon anger, or we do it based on accessibility. Mm-hmm. If we beefing with somebody, it's because we're beefing in our communities. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, and I challenge you this. If you put whites or any other race in the same socioeconomic conditions, they will do the same thing. One of my favorite movies of all time, it was a comedy, was Trading Places. Mm-hmm. If you take these same people that are used to a lifestyle that is permissive to tragedy, they'll conduct in tragic behavior. A child lives what he learns.
That's true.
And until you change what the child learns, I talked to Tyler Perry, and I never forget this, and I think Tyler Perry movies are the hokiest movies in the world. But what he's doing is, and he explained to me was, he's saying, I'm making movies about growing up. This is what I saw. I asked him about, why you gotta give the brothers these crazy wigs and afros and stuff like that? He says, because when I was growing up, these were the men that I admire. So I present them in the way I saw them. I saw them as struggling to get a hold of their families, this, that, and the other. I saw them fighting to win. And that's the message right there. Wow. We have to get back to our roots. And our roots, believe it or not, especially in Detroit. Detroit was the mecca of middle-class Black success. Wow. During the automotive industry. And during the Great Migration, they talk about the Great Migration. The Great Migration was, I like what Mike was saying about big mamas, this, that, and the other. There was more big mamas in America than there was parents, than there was couples, mothers and fathers. There were more big mamas because the men who came up north, they had families down south, came up north and had families up north now. Now they had two families. And big mama stayed behind and raised those kids.
Right.
And she taught them things that they aren't being taught now. I mean, it's like, and I hate to go off on it, but this is reality. That movie, Claudine.
Oh yes, my favorite.
Greatest movie ever made because it told the truth about America.
Yes, it did.
We will promote you. We will give you everything you need. But if the father of those kids is in that house, we're gonna cut you off. And then they have the audacity and the temerity to ask you what happened to the Black family.
Right.
Well, you made it more profitable for him not to be there.
Wow. Oh, that's a conversation right there, Kenneth. That is a conversation because Claudine is one of my all-time favorite movies. It literally speaks to my soul, my spirit. And I watch it at least once a month. But you are absolutely right. Anybody else want to comment before we wrap this up? We have 6 minutes and that's it. So let's wrap it up with everyone give their final thoughts. And for Tamika, Latia, if you want to give a final thought or say something, please just unmute yourself and video whatever and give your final thoughts as well. So we'll start with Kenneth. Go with your final thoughts.
Like I said, my word would be hopelessness. Don't let the hope be gone. Because I think, at some point in time, pressure busts a pipe. And if we keep pushing in the right direction, I think it can get better. But it has to be equitable. It can't be somebody giving us something. It's got to be about us going like you said, going out there and getting it for ourselves.
All right, Jerry.
Communication, pure love. I heard you said 6 minutes, so I'm breaking it down with powerful. You just got to have pure love. Too much hatred, too many angry people out here. Pure love.
Micah, your final words, 60 seconds or less. We can't hear you, Micah. Oh, let me unmute you. I'm sorry. Let me unmute you, Micah.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
We as men have an obligation to our community to be the cornerstone thereof. So other like-minded individuals to making a positive impact on our youth. And if we do so, then that that will make it that much easier to reach that one that has no positive role models in their life. And that's 30 seconds or less.
Thank you. Tamika Jhons, would you like to say something? I don't see you didn't unmute yourself. Latia, would you like to say something? Okay, you didn't unmute yourself. Okay. I didn't mean to do that. You are current. I think I'm, okay. So, I'm sorry, I just did something and I don't know what I did, so I'm just asking to unmute all of y'all. So I just once again want to thank everybody for coming out. This was exceptional dialogue. We need more of this. Once we get past Corona, once she gone on about her way, I would really like to bring this into an in-person type thing, because I speak from the woman's perspective, and a lot of people say that I'm extremely hard on the female. And that's because I know we can do better. I'm a woman. I know the struggles that we go through. So it's like, girl, no excuses. We got to do X, Y, and Z, which is why I actually wrote the book, Girl, Get Your Life. So just plugging myself, of course, we have to do better. We have to do better. We got to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. We got to get those attitudes in check. And the next generation, they're watching us. I believe that it's hard for us to get back to Big Mama now, because there are no Big Mamas, because the mamas is partying with the kids, you know? So how can I respect the woman that birthed me, but yet I'm sitting up here and we smoking and drinking together, but you allow me to call you, you know, the B word or hoe or whatever when you in playing mode, but then you want to switch when you going through something with your man and slap me because I just said, bitch, please. You can't do that. So you got to have either or. So based on that, that's going to set the next dialogue up, and I hope that you all will be a part of it. We're going to hold Mr. Najee to once we get past this. We are being his guest. We want to thank him for being a part of this as well. And that's it. Thank you for your time.
Great job.
Love you all.
All right, great job.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You
Bye.
can all just log off when you're ready. We still have Gloria, Tamika, and Latia still on the line. And it's still recording. So don't say or do anything out the way, because it's still recording until you all hang up.